Girls should never be allowed to join the Boy Scouts. They should be prohibited from joining the Boy Scouts. They may think, Dylan, that's sexist. Why do you not want women to do the same things as men? I'm going to explain that in this video. And at the end of the video, I'm going to bring it full circle, all right? You guys are going to understand why, and hopefully you're going to agree with me. And if not, you can comment down below and let me know how you feel. But I think you'll agree with me at the end of this video because the stats are clear. Now, the Boy Scouts are changing their name to the Scouts to include women. You know, you're going to bring little girls into the Boy Scouts so they can do little activities together, their little gender-neutral activities and everything like that. And this is terrible. And it's not just terrible because for the Boy Scouts, it's terrible for men in general because this sort of thing has been happening across the board. It's not just happening in the Boy Scouts. Now, full disclosure, I was never a Boy Scout. I was a Cub Scout, and when we were supposed to transition to Boy Scouts, I went a different way. I played sports a lot and things of that nature, so I never did Boy Scouts. But I know a lot of people who got their Eagle Scout. But it's about more than that, right? This is not about the Boy Scouts, but it leads back to that. Now, let's take a look at the stats starting off. The statistics are clear in saying that men are lost. Men are falling behind in school. They're not going to college. They're actually choosing to not go to college. And some of that is because of the atmosphere that is in the colleges these days, the anti-male and the liberal culture. But a lot of it's about men just feel lost. They don't know what they want to do. They have no passion. And I think that lost, that's a perfect way to describe it. They feel lost. They're more than 3 times as likely to commit suicide. They're more than twice as likely to die of an opioid overdose. And they're more than 7 times more likely to die as a result of gun violence. Now, if you look at those stats, that seems alarming. But you never see the media talking about this. You never see the left talking about this because they want to focus on women. They want to focus on minorities, which is fine because all of those groups have issues. But so do men. And those issues need to be addressed. And there's a reason they're not being addressed. It's because the left believes, and the people, so there's 2 ideas of culture, right? The 2 main ideas. There's the idea that humans are created biologically in a certain way, and they're different from each other. And those differences in biology will create the culture that we live in. So men are just going to be more aggressive. They're going to be more hyper. They're going to be more rebellious, things of that nature. Women are going to be calmer. They're going to be more subdued. They're going to be high in emotion. And that's just going to create the culture that we live in. Then there's the liberal idea of culture that says, you know what? Those things that men, those traits that men exhibit, those are implanted by culture. They're not actually biological. Therefore, we can change them, and that's what we are going to do. So that's what the leftists are trying to do. So that's their idea of culture, and that's why it's important to understand male issues are not being addressed. Because they believe they can change those. So those issues that men are facing, that's not a result of the fact that men are being, told not to act like men. You're not allowing boys to be boys. You're not raising men the right way. This is happening because, it's just men are evil people, and this proves it to an even higher extent. All right, so that's what they believe, and so it's important to understand that. Now, obviously, all of those issues that we just showcased about the, overdoses, things of that nature, because men don't want to be doing that stuff. They don't want to be dying of overdoses. They don't want to be shooting each other. It's happening. They don't want to be doing it. All of those stats result from one major problem, and that is the issue of raising boys in this country. Parents don't know how to raise boys. Now, I don't have any kids, but I've done a ton of research into this. Men, and I'm going to show that with you guys today, but boys are not being raised properly. Now, let's take a look at one of the major things, the lack of a father figure. Now, we all know it's important for, well, we don't all know. Obviously, a lot of people don't know if they're saying it's fine, single-parent households. But fathers are important for kids. They raise their kids. They show their kids how to act. They teach them things that are important for them to learn down the road. They're role models, male role models for kids. And it's important for boys to have those. It's just the same thing. It's important for a girl. It's important for a boy to have a mom, too. Don't get me wrong. But women do not raise boys as well as men raise boys. That's just statistically proven. And the rate of single-parent households is increasing at a rapid rate, and it's scary. I mean, just look at the areas that aren't doing very well. A lot of them, single-parent households. Mom's out working all day, kid comes home, no one's home, there's no dinner, they have no friends, so they go out, they join a gang. You can blame the education system, which I think has to do with it. The welfare state obviously contributes to that because it's encouraging people to have more kids. When they have more kids, fathers aren't around because they're getting more welfare money, so that has a problem as well. But the statistics are also, very clear in showing that a kid that's born in a single parent household is less likely to succeed than a kid who is born in a traditional household. That's clear as well. Now, this is shocking, what I'm about to share with you guys. I found this fascinating when I saw this. And the New York Times ran an article over a study looking at this, and they were looking at black and white success when they start off with the same amount of privilege, right? And then by privilege, I mean, status in life at the beginning of their life and the same opportunities, things of that nature. They found that black people are still less likely to succeed than white people. But there was one instance, there are a couple of instances, and this is a trend where everybody succeeds at about the same rate. It doesn't even necessarily have to do with a traditional household. And this is it. So let's say that you are born in a single parent household, all right? You are, because of that, less likely to succeed, statistically. Now, let's say that you live in an area with a lot of traditional families around, so mother-father households around. Just having other father figures around increases the rate, or increases your percentage of succeeding. Just having other fathers around, even if they're not there for you, even if you don't have a father yourself, just having other fathers around automatically increases your chance for success. That I found that fascinating. The fact that just having that around, that's how powerful the force of a father figure is. That just having them around increases your opportunity for success. I mean, think about that for a second. It's funny, they actually ran there's a poll here, and I'll link this down below. The share of children living in low poverty neighborhoods with many fathers present. 63% of white kids, 4% of black kids. The share of children living in high poverty neighborhoods with few fathers present, 1% of white kids, 66% of black kids. So this is obviously an issue that minorities are facing, and we need to focus on that. Minority men are facing this problem. And we can obviously, cutting back on welfare, not advocating for these, it's a cultural thing. We need to go back to traditional cultures. We need to say, look, it's important that your kid has a father in his life. It's important that your kid has a father in his life. Raise your kid the right way. Don't allow your kid to join a gang. Have your father there to influence your kid. Don't allow your kid to be influenced by a gang. Don't allow teachers to influence your kid. I mean, think about it. You have a baby. Your obligation is to make that baby and have him grow, if it's a male, have him grow into the best possible man he can to provide for his wife, his family, and his kids. I mean, that's what you want to do. That's the point. And the way that a parent raises a kid has so much to do with, number one, the way they will treat their family and the way they'll interact with the world. If you hit your kids, it delays the development of mirror neurons, therefore leading for them to become more likely to be psychopaths. If you put them into daycare, that harms them as well. That's why it's important for mothers to be at home taking care of their kids. Everybody has to make sacrifices when it comes to having kids, but we're not going to get into that in this video. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff I could get into. But we're not going to get into that. I'm going to try to keep it short. But again, back to that poll, found it fascinating. Now, the left wants to transform boys. They see these traits that boys exhibit, the aggressiveness, and things of that nature. And they say, you know what? I don't like that. It makes, that's going to lead to bad husbands for women. It's going to lead to men dominating in fields. It's going to lead to men fighting, shooting each other, everything like that. And it's bad. Well, it's not leading to that. It's leading to that because you're trying to change men. And that's the issue. So what the liberals are doing is they're coming in, they're saying it's toxic masculinity. We need to change it. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. Toxic masculinity. Now, one of the prime examples I like to look at to show that that's not the case is Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, author of 12 Rules for Life. If you haven't read the book, you absolutely should. He has come out and become sort of a father figure for men. And he is saying, you got to let boys be boys. Basically, he's saying a lot more than this. But he's saying that you got to let boys be boys. Men are different than women. This is why, and this is what men need to do to be successful in life. Men are flocking to him. He's receiving letters all the time from men saying, you helped me out of a very difficult spot. in life. Men are in these difficult spots because of the society that the left has created and the culture that the left has created around the fact that they're saying men are evil. Imagine being a young man and hearing every single day, your aggressiveness, your hyperactivity, everything like that is bad. I'm going to give you this medication to help with your hyperactivity. I'm going to give you, you're going to get punished every time you're too aggressive. If you have an idea, that's oppressive, that's bad. And it's just, imagine growing up in that culture. I mean, you're going to grow up, you're going to feel lost. You're going to feel like you can't find your purpose. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to be depressed. You're going to commit suicide, right? I mean, that's why it's happening. Men are just growing up in this is a terrible time for boys because boys are not allowed to be boys. Like, I'm sorry that men tend to be more hyper than women. I'm sorry. Maybe there's a reason for that. Have you ever stopped and thought that there are reasons that men have different traits? Why are men more aggressive? Because they've always had to protect their families. If you go back to the dawn of time, the dawn of man, right? They've always had to protect their families. If a tribe came and attacked your tribe, who was it that went out and defended? It wasn't the women. You didn't send the women to the front line. You sent the men. Who took the young men out to learn how to hunt and bring food back for their families and provide for their families? It was the men. The men would go out. They would hunt. They used that aggressive trait that they have to go out and attack animals and bring them back, kill them, and bring them back so that they could feed their tribe. They would teach kids to do the same thing. There's a reason that men have that. And you can use those traits to your advantage. You can use those traits and teach kids how to use those to become more successful. You can teach them, their competitive nature. You can say, hey, look, use that competitive nature to ask for higher, wages at work so you get paid more. You can provide for your family better. Use that competitive nature to negotiate, things of that nature. But instead, when you don't teach kids how to use those traits and instead you try to suppress those traits, they come out in more aggressive ways. They come out in violence. And they come out and when they can't exhibit those traits, they get depressed and they become anxious and they don't know what to do. They're lost because they've always been told that the direction where they naturally feel like they should be moving in is wrong, it's evil, and toxic. Now, they want to make men more feminine, but that's obvious, right? Because of the toxic masculinity. But again, that makes them feel like they have no purpose in life. You got to be able to use these traits to their advantage. These traits are there for a reason. Don't forget that, right? They're absolutely there for a reason. And this is important for women too. A lot of people say, well, you're just focusing on men. It doesn't matter. What type of man does a woman want? Does a woman want some pushover man who can't provide for the family? No. Or her? Absolutely not. A woman may say that she wants some man that's going to be, but in reality, what a woman wants is a strong man who's going to provide for the family, who's going to give their kids opportunity to succeed, who's going to give her an opportunity to succeed. People help each other. And when you start to say, oh, be a strong, independent woman, you don't need a man, be a strong, independent woman. Men aren't doing that. I mean, there are some men out there, you get your Dan Bilzerians, but a lot of men are saying, I want a good woman who's not going to cheat on me, who's going to stay with me, and they want that. But there's a whole slew of women who are being told by the radical feminists that you don't need a man, just raise a kid by yourself, adopt. Don't even bother with men, they're evil anyway, right? And it's insane. Let boys be boys. Let them grow with other boys. Let them have a father figure in the household that will raise them properly, that will show them, that will give them direction, that will teach them how to use the traits that they have to their advantage. They can learn. They see those other traits in their dad. They recognize those traits and they see what their dad does. They want to emulate that in their father. Men do. That's why it's so important. And it's important for men to be around other boys to be around other boys, and to learn from other boys and to see how other boys handle situations. It's very important. Just like it's important for girls to be around other girls. And like I said earlier, when you looked at that study, having other father figures around helps the opportunity for success, the percentage of success in society for those people who may not have a father figure. So if you want to talk about why it's so important to prohibit women from joining the Boy Scouts, girls from joining the Boy Scouts, it's because men will benefit from having other types of father figures around. They're troop leaders, other boys' dads that are coming as well. They benefit from that. And so when you start stripping that away from men, they don't know what to do. The Boy Scouts, they go on camping trips. They go, you know, they learn how to start a fire. They learn how to tie knots. It's not just about that. It's about the discipline that comes with that. They're learning discipline. So when you talk about, oh, men are just too aggressive, men are toxic, don't you want them to be more disciplined? Don't you want them to not show their hyperactivity in a negative way, instead learn discipline and show it in a positive way? Maybe they show their hyperactivity when it comes to working really hard. That's what you want. So the Boy Scouts, that's what they're doing for men. It's positive. It will lead to producing better men. So if you really want to get rid of the toxic masculinity, allow boys to be boys, and allow the boys to only be in the Boy Scouts. Don't allow women in the Boy Scouts. It will hurt men. I guarantee it, because this is not where it's going to stop. It's going to keep going. You know, eventually we're going to have men competing with women in sports. I mean, it's never ending. It's a slippery slope, and it scares the hell out of me, because I, at some point, am going to bring kids into this world, and what type of culture do I want to raise my kids in? Do I even want to send them to public school? Like, religion's being destroyed. Boys aren't allowed to be boys. You know, oh, your son can't focus in school. He needs medication. Maybe he can't focus because he realizes that what you're teaching him is completely irrelevant. There has never been a time in society where they have needed to learn these sorts of things. Of course, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be a natural pushback against, you know, learning about science and chemicals and things like that. Like, they just don't need to learn that. If they don't have a passion for that sort of thing, they're not going to be interested in it. That's why you see some boys have a passion for it. They do fine. Some boys don't, because they just don't have a passion in that field. That's why the education system needs to be catered to the individual rather than the collective. And when you cater the education system to the collective, what happens is you start catering it toward the lowest people in that group. And that's what Common Core is all about. It's saying, oh, these people have the lowest test scores. Let's work towards them. And then you've got the kids who are succeeding that can't succeed because the curriculum is based on the kids with low test scores and the kids that aren't doing as well. You need to cater it toward the individual. What does this individual kid want to do? What is his passion? What is his drive? Let's work with that. Let's see what we can do for that kid. They may not know exactly what field they want to go into or exactly what job they want to have, but you can sense a kid's drive and what his interests are at a very young age. All right, I'm going to end it there. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like and share. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more. I will catch up with you guys next time. Bye-bye.